When you've spent a few bucks on a cheap tabletop balance from a discount store, the moment you try to weigh a milligram of powder for a chemistry experiment, the scale jumps, the reading wobbles, and you're left wondering why you didn't just invest a little more. I've seen that same regret on lab benches and in hobby workshops when people try to stretch a bargain instrument beyond its comfort zone. That's why I wanted to talk about the Ohaus PX124, a mid-range analytical balance that promises semi-automatic internal calibration and a readability of 0.0001 G. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let me say why the hesitation makes sense. Analytical balances sit at the sweet spot between a kitchen scale and a high-end research instrument. If you buy the cheapest model, you might save a few $100s, but you'll quickly pay for it in time lost recalibrating, in inaccurate data, and in the frustration of having to repeat an experiment. On the other hand, the most expensive models can cost thousands and include features you'll never touch, like built-in drafting tables or connectivity suites for LAMS software. The PX124 tries to hit a middle ground. It's a 120G capacity unit that reads down to 1/10th of a gram and offers a semi-automatic internal calibration routine that kicks in with the press of a button. What does that mean for everyday use? Imagine you're a high school chemistry teacher setting up a lab for a titration. You need to weigh out roughly 0.05 G of a solid reagent, and you only have 10 minutes before the class starts. With the PX124 you place the pan, hit the calibration button, and the balance runs a quick internal check using its built-in weight. Within seconds you have a stable baseline, and the display shows the mass without the usual drift you'd see on a lower-end scale. The same process works for a small-batch artisan who needs to weigh precise amounts of herbs for a tincture. The balance's 50mm pan gives enough room for typical lab containers, and the clear LCD makes it easy to read the fourth decimal place even in a bright room. The convenience of semi-automatic calibration is one of the real strengths. In a lab that runs multiple experiments a day, you often have to stop and manually calibrate a balance with external weights, which is time-consuming and introduces human error. The PX124's internal routine uses a built-in weight that the instrument references each time you press the calibrate key. It's not a full auto-calibration that runs continuously, but it's a solid compromise that keeps the instrument ready for accurate measurements without a separate weight set. Now, let's talk about the practical trade-offs. The 120G capacity might feel limiting if you're working with larger samples, such as bulk reagents for a university chemistry department. You'll need to split a larger batch into multiple weighings, which adds steps to the workflow. Also, the balance runs on AC power only, there's no battery backup. If you're in a setting where power interruptions are common, you'll need to plan for a UPS or accept that the balance will shut down and you'll have to recalibrate once power returns. The construction feels solid metal housing with a brushed finish, but the instrument's footprint is a bit larger than a typical kitchen scale, so you'll need a stable bench with a little extra space. Who should consider the PX124? If you're a teacher, a small-scale researcher, a hobbyist who takes analytical work seriously, or a professional who needs a reliable balance without breaking the bank, this unit lands in a sweet spot. The readability of 0.0001 G is more than enough for most educational labs, quality control checkpoints, and DIY chemistry projects. It also appeals to people who appreciate the peace of mind that comes with a built-in calibration routine, because you can trust that the balance is self-checking rather than relying on you to remember to do it manually. Who might skip it? If you run a high-throughput research facility that needs a balance capable of handling kilograms of material, or you require advanced connectivity like Ethernet, USB data logging, or software integration, you'll likely outgrow the PX124 quickly. Similarly, if you need a portable balance for field work, the lack of battery operation makes it a poor fit. And if you're only ever weighing a few grams of flour for a bakery, a standard kitchen scale will do the job for a fraction of the price. A practical scenario that highlights both a strength and a weakness involves a forensic lab technician who needs to weigh trace evidence. The technician appreciates that the PX124's internal calibration runs quickly and that the display's resolution lets them capture minute differences. However, the technician also notes that the balance's draft shield while present is not as comprehensive as the taller, sealed shields found on premium models, meaning that strong airflow from an air conditioner can still cause slight fluctuations in a very sensitive weighing environment. In a controlled lab room, the effect is negligible, but it's something to keep in mind if your bench